On a quiet afternoon in Phoenix, Arizona, outside the headquarters of Turning Point USA, an emotional moment captured the nation's attention. Family, friends, and supporters had gathered at the growing memorial site to honor Charlie Kirk, the 31-year-old conservative activist whose death shook communities across America. What happened there that day was heartbreaking and unforgettable. Charlie's father collapsed in tears, overwhelmed with grief, crying out the words, "Give me back my son, he's only 31." Standing just beside him was country music star Luke Bryan. With a steady hand on the grieving father's shoulder, Luke tried to provide comfort during an unimaginable moment. That simple gesture, quiet yet powerful, showed the kind of compassion that transcends fame, politics, and background. It became one of the most shared images of the memorial, and it reminded everyone watching that grief and love are universal. Charlie Kirk's father had carried himself with visible strength in the days following his son's death. But at that moment, the weight of loss overcame him. His cry, "Give me back my son, he's only 31, was more than a sentence. It was the raw expression of a parent's deepest pain, the kind that resonates with anyone who has ever loved and lost. As he collapsed at the memorial site, many standing nearby lowered their heads in silence. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others placed flowers and lit candles as a sign of respect. The scene underscored the reality that behind every public figure is a family, and behind every headline is a human being. For his father, Charlie was not just a political activist or a national personality. He was his child, the boy he had raised, the man he had watched grow, and the young father taken away far too soon. Among those gathered that day was Luke Bryan, one of the most recognizable names in country music. But Luke was not there as a celebrity. He was there as a friend. He had gotten to know Charlie Kirk in recent years and had spoken openly about how much he admired his passion and energy. Luke had once described Charlie as a young man with fire in his soul, someone who spoke with conviction and lived with determination. That respect translated into genuine friendship. And on this day, when the grief of a father spilled over, Luke quietly stepped in, not with words, but with presence. Placing a hand on Charlie's father's shoulder, he stood beside him as a source of strength. There was no performance in it, no cameras or stages, just a simple act of human compassion. For the grieving father, that touch was a reminder that he was not alone in this sorrow. For those watching, it was an image of unity, proof that grief binds people together in ways deeper than politics, careers, or fame. The memorial outside Turning Point USA's headquarters had become a gathering place for people from all walks of life. Flowers lined the sidewalk. Candles flickered as evening approached. Supporters left handwritten notes, personal prayers, and small tokens of remembrance. Some carried photographs. Others brought flags. The atmosphere was one of mourning, but also of solidarity. People came not only to grieve, but also to show support for the Kirk family. And when the video of Luke Bryan comforting Charlie's father spread across social media, the scene touched even those who were not present. Viewers across the nation felt the emotion of that moment, and many said it brought them to tears. What happened outside the Phoenix headquarters became more than just a local event. It became a symbol of how a community, and even a country, comes together in the face of tragedy. The video of the grieving father's collapse and Luke Bryan's quiet gesture quickly traveled across the internet. On Facebook, Instagram, and X, users shared the clip, leaving thousands of comments filled with sympathy, prayer, and encouragement for the family. Some wrote about how they had disagreed with Charlie's politics but still felt the weight of his family's loss. Others expressed deep sorrow for his young children, now left without a father. Country music fans praised Luke Bryan for standing by the family in their darkest moment, calling his action a reminder of humility and humanity. The collective response was clear. Grief knows no political party, no profession, and no boundaries. At that moment, America saw not the activist, but the son, and the father who could only cry out in pain. Even as the tributes poured in, questions about Charlie Kirk's assassination remained. He was killed while addressing an audience at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The attack raised immediate concerns about safety at public events. investigators continue to work through details. How was the attacker able to get so close? Were there gaps in security protocols? Could this have been prevented? These are not just questions for one family, but for the broader public, especially in a time when divisions run deep and public figures often face threats. For the Kirk family, the answers will not bring back their son. But for the public, those answers matter. They may help prevent future tragedies. As the investigation unfolds, supporters continue to call for accountability and clarity about what went wrong on that day. While the private grief of the family has been at the center of the story, organizers have also confirmed plans for a public funeral service. It will be held at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, a venue large enough to hold the thousands expected to attend. The decision to hold the funeral in such a large space reflects not only Charlie's public profile, but also the enormous response his death has generated nationwide. People are expected to travel from across the country to honor him. Leaders, friends, and supporters will gather in one place to pay their final respects. The funeral will serve as both a farewell and a public moment of remembrance, an acknowledgement of the impact Charlie had, not only as a political activist but also as a son, a husband, and a father. In the days leading up to the funeral, a special initiative has been launched to honor Charlie's memory. A country music Charlie Kirk tribute shirt is being sold, with all proceeds directed to an organization chosen by his wife. The idea behind the shirt is simple: to give people a tangible way to show support and solidarity. Wearing the shirt is not just about honoring Charlie's life, but also about helping provide for causes his family values. Organizers have made clear that every purchase makes a difference, and that the shirt is a symbol of unity in a time of loss. For supporters across the country who cannot attend the funeral in Arizona, this initiative provides a way to participate and to stand with the family from afar. When people look back at the days following Charlie Kirk's death, many images will come to mind. There will be the sight of flowers and candles outside the headquarters. There will be the voices of supporters praying and grieving together. There will be news reports discussing the unanswered questions of the investigation. But perhaps the most powerful image will remain the father's collapse, the cry for a son taken too soon, and the hand of Luke Bryan resting on his shoulder. That single moment summed up both the pain and the compassion that defined the memorial. It showed that Charlie Kirk was not only a public figure, debated and discussed in political spaces, but also a beloved son whose absence is deeply felt by his family. It showed that grief connects people from different backgrounds, whether a grieving father or a country music star. And it showed that in moments of sorrow, the human heart reaches across every divide. As America prepares for Charlie Kirk's public funeral at State Farm Stadium, the memory of his father's cry continues to echo. The grief is raw, the loss is permanent, and the questions about his death remain. Yet amid the heartbreak, there is also solidarity. Supporters, friends, and even strangers have come together to honor his memory, to support his family, and to stand against the kind of violence that ended his life. Luke Bryan's presence reminded everyone that compassion is stronger than division, and that even in the hardest of moments, a hand on the shoulder can mean everything. Charlie Kirk will be remembered in many ways, as a political activist, as a leader, as a young man with conviction. But for his father, he will always be the son taken away too soon. And for the nation, his story will remain a reminder of how fragile life can be and how important it is to support those left behind.